Hello everyone. Let's look at Shloka 91 in Lalita Sahasranamam. Tattvāsanā tattvamayī pañchakośāntarasthitā nissīmamahimā nitya yauvanā madaśālinī. Let's take a look at the meanings of the namas. The first nama is tattvāsanā. Asanam means seat. Tattvam, you can translate that into a principle of reality. So, she is seated on top of the principle of realities is what this nama means. So, she is seated on top of the tattvas. So, what are these tattvas? So, according to Advaita Vedanta, it is said that there is only one ultimate reality, and that ultimate reality manifests into every form that is found in the universe. The ultimate reality, if you see, is formless, nameless, it's limitless, and it is timeless, and it is attributeless. You can't say it is like this, you can never describe it. But the forms that we see, and even if we take human beings and you or I, we look in a certain way, we are contained in that form. The form may, we can grow bigger or smaller, etc. But the form is still limited, and there is lots of limits on our abilities, not from terms of what we can think, but even if we want to, a human being suddenly cannot fly. So there are certain limits, and we can be only in one place at a given time. So there are limits there. So and if you see anything that is manifested in the universe always has a certain, it's bound by time, it's bound by a certain form, and it can occupy that particular space, and at a given point in time it can only be in one place. So in our Vedantas, they did not stop with saying, yeah, that ultimate reality manifested into the forms. They actually mapped how that ultimate reality became this contained form. So that almost like the steps, the descent of creation. So that is called as tattvas. And totally there are about 36 tattvas, and that explain how that limitless, formless reality became this limited form that we can see in the universe. So the first two steps, or the first two tattvas in that descent of creation, are two complementary aspects called Shakti and Shiva. So, for us to understand that easily, think of Shiva as anything that's formless, and Shakti as anything that has the potential to take a form. So, those are the first two steps. And then from there are multiple steps. Finally, the last few of those are the 5 jnanendriyas, the 5 karmendriyas, the 5 mahatbhutas, and 5 tanmatras. So that's how it comes into this limited form. So the ultimate reality is not part of this 36. It is above that. That's why Lalita, as the ultimate reality, is sitting on top of the tattvas. And so she's not part of it, because the tattvam starts with Shiva and Shakti. Tattvamayī. There are 3 namas in here. Tat, Tvam, Ayi. Tat means that or suchness. And we said that ultimate reality cannot be described in any way. And therefore, we just call it as that. And Lalita, as the ultimate reality, is that. Tvam. Tvam means you or thou in a respectful way. And that ultimate reality is Lalita, and therefore we are addressing her as you are that. So she is Tvam. Ayi. Ayi is a endearing call out to someone who is like a mother. So Ayi can be thought of as mother of all. And as the one who created this entire universe, Lalita is the mother of all. So Ayi, you can think about it in Tamil, some people call their grandmother Aya. So it's kind of related. So it is something that is referencing a motherly figure. And it's also said that Ayi is also another name of Shiva. It's not in the way it's written here, but it is the A. It's written slightly differently in Sanskrit, but it is pronounced the same way, Ayi, and that's called as Shiva. And if you apply that as Shiva, that also makes sense because tattvāmayī. So that ultimate reality, the first two steps are Tvam, which is Lalita, and now in this Tvam, we think of her as just Shakti, and then Ayi is Shiva. So that is also another way to look at it. Pañchakośāntarasthitā. Pañchakośāntarasthitā. Pancha means 5. Kosha means sheath or container. Antara means in or within. Sthita. Sthitam usually means standing. In this particular case, you can say staying or residing. So pañchakośāntarasthitā means she is residing in 5 sheaths. So according to the yogic philosophy, humans have 5 layers or 5 sheaths. And the sheaths are one within the another, like the nesting dolls. You can see one within the other. Or, for people who are familiar with the kitchen utensils, there are sets of utensils you can buy where they neatly fit within one another, and then they're just nested. So the human being is also like that. And it's said that there are 5 layers. The outermost layer is called as annamaya kosha. Annam means food. So it references to the physical body, and the physical body is a direct result of the food we consume. So it is basically the food we consume that got processed and it's now this body. So annamaya kosha is the physical body. The next layer is pranamaya kosha. So that is around the breath. So any air that circulates, right? And that's the reason for the body to live. So that is pranamaya kosha. The next layer within it is called as manomaya kosha. So this is the place where it is mind, memory, all of that is in this particular place, in this layer. And then the fourth layer is called as vijñānamaya kosha. Vijñānam is related to intuition. And this is also the place where we have buddhi, intellect. And this is where, with the vijñānamaya kosha, is where we judge, we decide, we choose between options. All of that is vijñānamaya kosha. And finally, nested within that is called as ānandamaya kosha, which is the kosha of supreme bliss. And it is said that there is God within every human being. And so she resides in these 5 layers. And if you see, these layers are all connected with each other. So we have said that generally the way we interact with the world is dependent upon our perspective. We have our own lens, right? And everything that we see is colored by that perspective. And if you see, where does this perspective come from? That perspective is related to the experiences that we have gone through, right? So what happens is, depending on which family we were born into, how we were raised, what our experience with the world has been, we all get conditioned. There is a certain way in which we behave. And some of that conditioning is so subconscious that we are not consciously thinking about it, but yet that's the way we behave. So those are called as vasanas. And typically when a baby is born, all these layers are clean. There is no conditioning that's happened. So babies, that's why, are always very happy. They're smiling. They can easily forget things and move on. But as we grow, what happens is these vasanas actually impact the Anandamaya kosha. So they start to cloud there. And because of that, from the Anandamaya kosha, the Vijñānamaya kosha, the buddhi now gets clouded. So that means that we are interpreting things in a different way. And from there, it is related to the Manomaya kosha, which means depending on how we are seeing the world, our thoughts are accordingly tuned. And depending on how we are looking at that, the Pranamaya kosha and the Annamaya kosha react to that. So that means outwardly, the words we speak, the way we act will get influenced by that. So from Anandamaya kosha up to Annamaya kosha, there is influence. Similarly, the other way around, right? If the body now falls sick, right? Then what happens? Our energy levels go down. And if the energy level goes down, we don't feel so great. And if we don't feel so great, then we are angry, upset, we don't make the right choices. And again, that bliss is impacted. So these are all connected. And this is how human beings work. But inside all of these layers is Lalitambika. And it is said that the 5 sheets translate into 3 bodies. So there are 3 bodies like Sukshma Sharira, Sthula Sharira and Karana Sharira. Sthula Sharira is the first one, which means physical body. The Annamaya Kosha and the Pranamaya Kosha are equivalent to the Sthula Shariram. So that is the physical body with breath, etc. And then the Sukshma Sarira is the subtle body. And that subtle body is equivalent to Manomaya Kosha and Vijnanamaya Kosha. So it is the mind and the intellect together is the Sukshma Sharira. And then finally the Karana Sharira, which is the causal body, which is equivalent to the Anandamaya Kosha. And if you see, for most people, our identity is tied to our Sukshma Sharira, right? The Manomaya Kosha and Vijnanamaya Kosha is what we take ourselves to be. But if we go beyond that, clear up all our vasanas, we will find that Lalita resides inside us. Nissīmamahimā. Mahima means glory or greatness. Nissīma means immeasurable. So her greatness is beyond measure. So she is someone who is immeasurably great. So how is it so? We all know we always give higher weightage even in our lives to something that's creative, right? So if somebody creates something new, that's a little bit higher than just doing the same things over and over. So that's why a new song, building something new, these are all very highly creative and also are celebrated in a big way. And if you take Lalita, she created the entire universe. And the universe is not just with one earth. It is so many billions of galaxies, billions of stars, and so many planets. She created it. So her creation is immense. It's so extensive. And is it just that her creation is extensive? If you see, there is a nama that says Unmesha Nimishotpanna Vipanna Bhuvanavali. That means with a blink of her eye, she can create series of worlds. So look at the speed with which she's creating. And is it just that she creates a lot and then she creates them fast? Look at the quality of her creation. If you look at it, there are, just in the earth that we know, there are more than 80 lakh species. Every species has something unique about it. It has its own characteristics. It has a certain form. And then if you see, she created a food chain, right? There is, and it's self-sustaining. So if something is, there is a grass, and then the cow eats the grass, and then the lion eats the cow, and it's all a cycle. So she created that, and then all these things can reproduce, so they can keep continuing that. And then if one species becomes too many and it becomes overwhelming, then the earth or nature has its self-correcting mechanisms. So look at the beauty of what she's created. And then on top of the food chain, she created human beings. And she gave us the ability to think, which is so unique from anyone else. And it's not just that. She gave us the ability to think, and then on top of it, she gave us the choice to decide how our lives will turn out to be. Can you imagine anything more beautiful than that, right? So that is the beauty of her creation. Of course, we are talking about all of this, but this is just a minuscule of what we know about her creation. There might be so many things in this universe that we don't know about, and there might be many things that are just simply beyond our comprehension. But these are all the creation of that ultimate reality, which is Lalitambika. So no wonder her glory is beyond measure. None of us can ever elaborate upon her glory. Nitya yauvanā. Nitya yauvanā means ever youthful. Obviously, as the ultimate reality, time doesn't apply to her. So she is timeless, and therefore she is always youthful. Madaśālinī. Madam means intoxication. So Shalini means abounding in or overflowing with. So that means she is abounding in intoxication. And what is that intoxication? That is the bliss. So as the ultimate reality, she is the supreme bliss. So that's the meaning of all the namas within this shloka. Let's look at a small story related to the nama Nitya Yavana. We said Nitya Yavana means ever youthful. So we are going to look at the story of Kanya Kumari. So Kanya means girl, Kumari means a girl who is in her youth. And Kanya Kumari Amman is standing in her ever youthful form in Kanyakumari. And there is a temple for Devi Kanyakumari. She's also called as Bhagavati Amman or Kanyakumari Amman. And the temple is supposed to be 3000 years old. And in there, made in a blue stone, Shakti is standing there in her ever youthful form with prayer beads in her hand. And she has an amazing nose ring that's supposed to glitter, and it confuses people whether that is the lighthouse itself. So it glitters like that. And it is said that this temple, the Devi was installed by Parashurama himself. And it is also one of the Shakti Pitams. And it is said that Sati's back or spine fell here. And therefore, we all know with Shakti, Kundalini is a very important thing. It's a high energy, and it is her back and spine that fell here. So this is a very, very powerful place. So let's look at the story of Kanyakumari. So once upon a time, there was a demon called Banasura. And Banasura comes in the lineage of Mahabali. There is some confusing notes about whether he is the son of Mahabali or whether he is the grandson of Mahabali, but either way he comes in Mahabali's lineage. And as it is normal with all the asuras, they always want power and they're always after immortality. So Banasura undertook a severe penance with Brahma, and he wanted to acquire the boon of immortality. And he went on doing a severe penance, and Brahma was pleased, and Brahma came before him and said, "What is the boon that you want?" Immediately Banasura said, "I want immortality." And then Brahma told him that immortality cannot be granted. Everything that is born has to die one day. So if everything stays, then the creation cycle won't work very effectively. So he said, "I cannot give you that, but I will allow you to choose the manner of your death. You can tell me how you want to die, and we will agree on that." So then Banasura thought long and hard, and you know of many Asura stories where they said, this and that, and then there'll always be a loophole. So Banasura didn't want to get into all of that. He thought very clearly, and he said, "If at all I have to be killed, only a adolescent girl can do that." So adolescence is typically between 10 and 19 years. That's when we call somebody as adolescent. And he said between 10 and 19, an adolescent girl. He wanted to make sure that male are excluded. And what is the calculation behind it? Generally, if you see between 10 and 19, when you think about girls in that stage, they are beautiful, they are very sweet, they are ready to be given in marriage to someone else. And usually girls are raised so that they are comely, right? But if you think about it, the first thing that you can come up with is vulnerability in that age, right? So they are not the strong people, they are someone who are supposed to be taken care of. So Banasura thought, if you pick somebody like that, that person is not going to be courageous and come and fight with me. So that way I can simply eliminate the chance of being killed. And for him, it was as equivalent to the immortality. So he asked that, and Brahma immediately granted it. Now, Banasura effectively, in his opinion, has won over death. And now with that invincibility, the power started to get to his head, and he started behaving in a very rude manner. He did not have to respect anybody. And he aimed for Indra's Swargaloka, and he went and conquered that. And now nobody can win over him. So he completely conquered it. and he particularly chose the Devas for torturing them. And as a result of all of this, Agni, Vayu, and Varuna became terribly uncoordinated. And we all know, right? So Agni, Vayu, and Varuna they're all elements that are critical for the universe to sustain and function properly. So when they are uncoordinated, suddenly now there are fires anywhere. And then otherwise there is like a flood coming in, or there is drought in some place, or then now there is cyclones and tornadoes and hurricanes that are happening. So Mother Earth couldn't bear with it. So this was causing too much of a grief for her. So, Mother Earth is Bhumi Devi. So she reached out to Vishnu and she said, you have to help me. I'm not able to tolerate this because of this Banasura's atrocity. Now these elements have become uncoordinated and it's very hard. So Vishnu knows about this boon given to Banasura and he said, no, nobody other than Shakti can kill Banasura. So all of you go to Shakti and pray and ask her to help you all. So then all the Devas and Mother Earth, everybody started to pray to Parashakti. And then she appeared and she asked them what they wanted and they told her about what's happening with Banasura. So Shakti said, okay, I'll take care of it, don't worry. And so she came to the earth. And she came to the earth as a 5-year-old girl. And now she's 5 years old. Remember, Banasura can only be killed by somebody who's in their adolescence. That means there was some more time. And she had to wait until the right time came. And so she started to meditate towards Shiva. And that is common. Anytime Parvati has an avatar in the earth, always she will meditate. And then finally Shiva will marry her and take her back. So, because she had to wait for some time, she thought, I'll as well pray to Shiva. So, years went by and she's continuing to pray, and now she's reached the adolescent age and she's reached the marriageable age. And Shiva has been observing her doing the japa and continuously meditating upon him. And Shiva is very pleased. And immediately Shiva appears before her and he says that he would like to marry her. Because at that point, Kanyakumari is such a beautiful young girl. You place your eyes on her, it's impossible to move your eyes away. She's that beautiful. And so Shiva wants to marry her. And immediately she also consented, because that's the goal of every avatar, right? Finally she goes back to Shiva. So she consented. So now there is a grand wedding that's planned, and all arrangements are made in the city of Kanyakumari. And now the groom's party are staying slightly away from Kanyakumari. So they've decided that the wedding will happen in the just before the dawn, right? So before the sunrise, the wedding will happen. So it is kind of in the Brahma Muhurtam. So sometime around 3 to 5 o'clock, like that. So now the groom's party is staying in a place called Suchindram, and that's a little bit further away from Kanyakumari. So in the groom's side, there was all these events that were happening because it was the wedding, and all the gods and the apsaras, everybody has come, the devas, everybody has come, and they're all taking part in this. While everybody is walking towards, these devas are actually very worried. They know that they prayed to Shakti, Parashakti, and she came down here only to kill Banasura. But now somehow she's decided to marry Shiva. The problem with her marrying Shiva is that the moment she gets married, she is no longer a Kanya. Now she becomes a wife of somebody. So then she loses the ability to kill Banasura. So now these devas are very worried that now their problem won't be resolved. So they're all worried about it. And so they ask Narada, who's also there, and ask them what to do about this. Please suggest a way out of it. So Narada actually became the form of a rooster, and then just when they're about to reach Kanyakumari, like 5 kilometers from that, he starts to crow. And once the rooster crows, then it signifies that it's morning now. So then Shiva realizes that he missed the auspicious time for the wedding. And now he is asking what to do, and everybody says, no, the wedding is called off, so we can go back. So now Kanyakumari is, they're all waiting on the bride's side. They're all waiting. All the arrangements have been made, and it's only like close to 2 o'clock or so. And so they're all waiting. And as time passes, the actual sunrise has happened. Shiva didn't show up. So now Kanyakumari is completely devastated, and she's also very upset that he offered to marry her and did not show up on the day of the wedding. It's a big insult for her. So she flew into a rage, and she took all the things that were rice and other things that were uncooked, and she threw everything out. It is said that in the shore of the Kanyakumari, the ocean there are lots of multicolored seashells. And the multicolored seashells are attributed to Kanyakumari being mad and throwing all the food that was uncooked for the wedding. She threw it out, and that's what turned into all of these shells, is how they believe it. So now she's very mad, and after a while she calmed down, and then she decided to go back into penance and pray towards Shiva. I wonder why he didn't come back. In the meantime, Banasura comes to hear about this whole thing and about this beautiful girl whom Shiva himself wanted to marry. So then he wanted to see, who's this beautiful girl? Maybe I can try my luck and see whether she will marry me. So Banasura comes and offers to marry, and she rejects it right away. She's not even entertaining it. And Banasura, being the Asura and he's now the supreme power, gets very upset, and he decides to tackle her by force. And so he decides to pull her and take her away so that he can marry her. And at that time, he does not realize that he's dealing with Parashakti. So then she becomes very angry, and now there is a fight that's going on between Banasura and Kanyakumari. And then finally, with her Chakrayudham, she kills Banasura. And just about Banasura was about to die, he realizes that what is standing in front of him is the Parashakti, the essence of this universe. And so he repents for what he has done. He pleads forgiveness with her, and then he also requests that she stay there forever and bless everybody in that place. And if someone comes and takes bath in that sea, then they get her blessings as well. So till date, Kanyakumari is staying there. The Bhagavati Amman is staying there as Kanyakumari Amman in Kanyakumari, and anyone who goes there gets her blessings. And we said she's wearing a nose ring. So it's said that the nose ring shines so much that lots of ships mistake that for the lighthouse. And there is a folklore that says that once a sailor from England, a British sailor, was sailing, and he saw this nose ring, and he mistook it for the lighthouse, and so he moved towards it. And then after they reached the shore, he got down and then realized it was not the lighthouse, rather it was a temple. And in the temple, Kanyakumari Amman is facing the east, so she's directly looking there. And so he walks through that east door, and then he sees this beautiful, dazzling nose ring on the idol. So then he decides that will be a very good gift for the queen. So he takes that, and they sail again. They're going back to their country. And it's said that as they kept sailing, as they got further and further, this nose ring started to weigh more and more and more. At one point, it weighed so much that it was enough to sink the entire ship. And then the ship sank, and everybody with it. And then some fishermen found this nose ring, and they brought it back to Kanyakumari, and it is on the Devi right now. So because of this, in the temple, they keep the eastern door closed. So the entrance is either through the western door or the northern door, and the eastern door is only opened in terms of in times of any festivities. So that is a little bit about Kanyakumari Amman and how she is the Nitya Yauvanā, the ever youthful form of Parashakti. That's all for today. Thank you.